All right, let's take you back to Sandton then, where Supreme Court of Appeal President Justice Mandisa is on the stand today as the Judicial Service Commission continues with the second day of interviews in search for a new Chief Justice for South Africa. Maya is in fact the second candidate to be interviewed. Let's take you live to those proceedings then.
He was asked here to withdraw, and it was not in favor of a woman, but it was on the basis that their performance or issues that get to be raised are such that they should have used their conscience to stay out of this process. So, and secondly, this body has actually told women who came across limited to withdraw.
Oh, yes.
Yes, so to create an impression that men are being told to withdraw in favor of women is not entirely correct.
I agree with what you've said, Commissioner. Commissioner Bredenbach is here, and I have no doubt that she can defend herself, but I'll say what I understood her to mean. I thought, because I have had, I've had it here over the years being suggested, being asked of males why they have applied when there's a woman and the demographics. I can't remember the particular facts offhand now, but it has happened. And the suggestion was that why are you here? Why did you not pave way for this woman? And the point we are making is that we understand that actually that's meant in very good spirit. It's meant to promote the cause of women. But women don't appreciate it. We don't want to appear like we're asking for handouts. We have our own pride, you know. That's what I thought she meant. That's how that question makes me feel, at least speaking for myself.
Thank you, Commissioner Malema. Commissioner Barnett.
Thank you, Acting President. Good afternoon, President Meyer, once again. I'd like to start focusing on the role of the Chief Justice as Chair of the JSC. So, and just maybe to start with, to make a statement that you already, to an extent, give some leadership in the JSC, where, for example, you chair a committee or committees. Perhaps you can give your own account of your experience in that regard to the Commission, and how things are going there, and how that would be able to assist you if you were to be appointed as Chief Justice. What would you be able to draw on?
I'm sorry, Mr. Bernard. I missed a huge chunk of the question. Can you just repeat it for me?
Sorry, your role as chair of committees in the JSC, that has already been taking place for some time. So
yes.
Just what experience do you draw from that, just to maybe inform the Commission on that, and how you will draw on that, or how that might be able to assist you if appointed in the role of Chief Justice?
Oh, thank you so much, Commissioner. Oh, well, I have chaired, remember there was a gender subcommittee that was elected to draw a response to the CGE, the Commission for Gender Equality report. I wonder what happened to that, by the way. And I was elected to chair that subcommittee, and got an opportunity to work closely with a few of the commissioners. And then there's the screening committee, of course.
I was told that we should take a break at 20 past 4, and those heading came prematurely at 10 past 10. That's rather 10 past 4. And so we were constrained to take a shorter 10 minutes. Okay.
Commissioner Bernard is still not back in any event.
So there seems to be a loss of sound on
Oh, he's back.
The power seems to be back on.
Yeah.
I'm told that we are now at full speed, so we can continue.
All right.
Yeah, we can continue. I'm sorry.
Shall I don't see Commissioner Bernard. I don't know if you can hear me.
Commissioner Bernard, can you
Yes,
follow
I can
the
hear
proceedings?
I can hear now. There was a slight break of sound, but it's all back on now again.
Yes, it's because there was load shedding earlier on.
Oh, can you hear me, Commissioner Bernard?
I can hear you. You may proceed, please.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I was explaining the roles I've played in the internal structures of the commission. The experience I got there really was just to get a deeper insights into the responsibilities of the commission. Let me just hasten to point out, Commissioner Bernard, that I chair a lot of bodies. So and chairing one committee is pretty much the same as chairing another. It's bringing organization. I mean, just bringing order and organization to the proceedings. There's nothing extraordinary about that. I don't think I've gained more from sitting there. It's just been more work for me than the experience I get from sitting in the big JSC.
But I think it helps you with the internal workings of the JSC to a certain extent, except that you obviously sit there as the president of the SCA as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, on transformation and modernization of the JSC itself, it sits with, for example, criteria for aspirant judges that have been determined and published some years ago. There's been some press about that. And this is despite the fact that one knows over time things have changed in the judiciary and so on. And so there might be need for changes regarding that since those criteria were worked out. And then the way meetings is held has notably changed over the last couple of years, partly due to the COVID, the pandemic and the online type of meetings. And then we also know that the JSC mandate is wider than just appointing judges. For example, I'm thinking specifically of the advisory role that's set out in the Constitution. So what is your vision for the JSC in general and more specifically with regard to these aspects that I've now highlighted?
Well, in addition to those aspects you've highlighted are the proposals that have come from interested parties, about the manner in which we conduct our business, or just to coin it crisply. My short answer, Commissioner, would be that I'm hoping that the meeting the body has undertaken to have shortly will just review everything, and then ideas can flow from there. I don't really want to venture any opinions on that at this stage and here. It's just safe to say that the JSC intends to have to do an introspection and look at these processes for the benefit of interested parties who may wonder if we were even listening to them.
And then if one, just moving on to a different aspect now, and that's just the Office of the Chief Justice, if appointed, thinking about yourself, what would the weaknesses or perhaps blind spots be, and how would you counter those weaknesses or challenges that you might face if they're not weaknesses?
You mean in that department?
Now, I mean, in respect of yourself to deal with that department.
Oh, well, the most obvious thing is that I've only ever led the Supreme Court of Appeal, which is a small court with 25 judges and 68 support staff, and that's a huge institution. I mean, the entire. Now you're scaring me because you're forcing me to think about the enormity of this job, because it's not just the OCJ, it's all the other things that the CJ, the Chief Justice, is responsible for. It's a big job. But as I said when I outlined my vision, there's a lot of support around the Chief Justice. We've seen it. I've seen it at play, at least in my time in the Heads of Court cluster. The OCJ plays they truly play their part. They offer the support. I have no doubt that they would put me through yeah, I'm sorry, English is my second language, and when I get tired, it just escapes me. I have no doubt that I would have the necessary support. I'm a quick learner, I must say, and I have a very strong character. So I would be able to manage whatever challenges came my way. But with that kind of support, I'm sure I'd quickly come to grips with everything that comes with the job. I'm ready for that.
Thank you. And then if one just thinks of your role as leader of the judiciary, and one thinks about Section 165, which gives the Chief Justice responsibility over the judicial functions of all courts. Much of what has been said today deals with higher and magistrates courts, yes, and let's call it the more commonly known court system. But then Section 166E defines judicial system to also include any other court. So, and that when they, in the context of other than the higher and the magistrates court. So then, could you just discuss your vision as Chief Justice regarding these other courts? One example mentioned already was earlier by you, the small claims court and so on. But in general, what would your vision be for these other courts?
Well, I don't have a defined vision at this stage, Mr. Bernard. I mean, as I said, these courts, by and large, wallow out there. They are the forgotten stepchildren. But one thing that rings in my mind is that we need to bring them into the fold, and then we'll take things from there. I've read up on them on the internet, and I don't think that is enough. One needs to actually engage with those institutions physically to have a real experience of exactly what goes on there. I can't draw a vision on what I've read from the internet and anecdotal accounts from people I've asked about the operations there. But my key thing right now is to bring them into the fold and then get to know exactly what's going on, and with the assistance of my colleagues, we'll make the necessary plans to do whatever is necessary to give them support or whatever is needed.
Thank you, President Meyer. Thank you, Acting President.
Thank you, Commissioner Barnett.
Quick follow-up, please, Acting President.
Yes, you may proceed, Commissioner Boff.
Thank you very much. A very quick one, President. I was just reminded by one of Commissioner Barnett's questions. As you know, that in October, this JSC, of which you were a part, agreed to have a workshop of the JSC, particularly because there are new commissioners and so on, but also to try and streamline how we work. The view which I shared, or at least expressed, was that should be rather done when there's a new Chief Justice with that person, because that person will be chairing the JSC going forward. And that seems to be what has happened. Now, if you were appointed, would you be keen or able to convene such a workshop as soon as possible, if possible, even before the April sitting, so that, going forward with the new Chief Justice, we would basically be moving from the same page, so to speak?
The sooner the better, Commissioner. That's absolutely, it has, whoever gets the job must be prevailed upon to do that. We can't afford to wait.
Thank you. Thank you, Acting President.
Thank you, Commissioner Boff. Commissioner Matology, your hours come.
Okay, thank you, Acting President. Justice Maya, I greeted you earlier on.
Yes, good afternoon again, Commissioner.
Yes, and I've been waiting so much for this opportunity, and I thought I'm too far below to ask you some of the questions. But what I must say that I really appreciate you having availed yourself. It is actually affirming the role of women in our society. One of the things in your vision, you had a lot of issues that you raised about your vision, and what I just wanted, maybe if you could add on your vision, is to the interaction with the professional and stakeholders. I'll tell you why I'm saying that, in the sense that we have this, whether it's 6 months meeting with the heads of court, where we meet with public works, everybody's there. And for me, they haven't served the purpose they're supposed to serve. Because I always feel it's a talk shop. There's no monitoring of what the issues that are being raised.
Yeah.
For instance, the profession will raise issues of the operations of the court. There are frustrations. But come next 6 months, it's still the same. So I think those are the things that you should really put they are called PEEC meetings or NECC meetings, but they always happen, but there's nothing that monitors. I mean, public works will be defending themselves, so but nothing comes out of it. Can you just prioritize that so that at least we move together with the profession, because the courts cannot work without the profession. And those are some of the challenges that the profession is experiencing. And the lifts not working, the air conditions, and it will actually even assist you as judges, if those things are implemented. The second issue is just a follow-up on the issues of, the briefing patterns. I know that a lot of people raise that issue, and I want to assure you that as a profession, we have done our best. We have come up with the legal sector code. We had the support of the Department of Justice and the ministry, but it's sitting somewhere. When executives, it's sitting somewhere in the DTI and it doesn't move. For me, the bottlenecks, I think they are here, they are listening, the bottlenecks that happen in between the executives themselves, it becomes a problem. Yeah. Because we thought by now the monitoring council will be in place so that we see that whether it works or not. Yeah. So I think I just wanted to I'm behind you. That's my passion. But the executives must assist us.
Yes.
To make sure it happens. The third one, that was a follow-up. The second one, I wanted to, not in defense of the BLA, but I'm just saying the issue of acting judges. There's a perception out there from the profession, so that because the acting appointments comes from the JPs, you get invited. And some of the JPs, when you submit names, they said, wait for me. You shouldn't come to us. Yeah. And this is where the perception of saying favoritism and all that comes from, But I remember we had suggested to the minister a policy on the acting appointment so that we participate as a profession also, submit names, so that at least people shouldn't be seen as being overlooked, So I just wanted you to at least to be assured that if we suggested a way forward for acting appointments, we shouldn't be calling Justice JP Tlaleti, hey, can you assist our members? At least there must be a policy. So I think that's what I wanted just to. We understand the perception is all there, so we need to deal with it. I think the third one, the first one, it was clarity. Yes. The third one is, for me, I understand that, for instance, Commissioner Mpofu and Justice Matopo, they are mooting this idea of merging the two courts. And for me, I'm not sure. I just want to know your take on this. I understood the Constitutional Court to be there to develop our law, deal with constitutional issues, but more and more I see it being packed with appeals and appeals and appeals, you know. And I still feel that, I may be wrong, we haven't developed the South African law in terms of our constitution to suit South Africa. We still refer to Roman Dutch law, to the common law. If we merge the two, aren't we eroding that part of us developing our own South African law? That's what I just wanted to hear from you.
There are 5 points, and my response to points 1 to 4 is all noted, Commissioner Lepu. And if I'm appointed, you can be sure that I'll do something about them. Now, about the last, just remind me, what was the last one? Just a keyword? Oh, the collapsing of the two courts. Yeah. I don't know if using the two courts would dilute anything. I mean, the two courts apply the same law, Commissioner. And I think the real issue is the increasing of the jurisdiction of the Constitutional Court, and we will see in fact, that's why I was even suggesting getting more judges, or so that you could have two panels, because you have a stream, sort of two different streams of cases. The more generalist cases that still end up there, and the truly constitutional matters. So I think the two-panel solution might deal with that. But as for your fear, your concern that doing away with the SCA does not apply its own law, it's bound to apply, like the High Courts, the Constitution and the law. So they do the same thing. It's just that there are certain powers that the High Court and the SCA don't have. The declaration of constitutional invalidity, for example, only the Constitutional Court can confirm, not small things like that. I still find merit in the idea of using the two courts. But it does not have to happen now. It could be a medium to long-term, well, or even short-term goal. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Judge Acting President.
Thank you, Commissioner Matolo Lepu. Commissioner Malema, I seem to recall that you said you no longer have any questions.
I didn't say anything.
Do you want to say something now?
Yes.
Please do.
No, I'll be very brief. I just have two questions. President Mai, earlier on you spoke about perception being the most important thing in the judicial. This thing of judges going to houses of politicians, and when asked about that, they say no, they went to discuss matters of national importance with politicians, which they can't take the country into confidence, meaning a judge and a politician have got some secret that they can't tell us about. Does it help to enhance the good image of the judiciary, or is contributing to what Commissioner Singh was talking about of lack of confidence, which is growing amongst the population because of those types of characters that we find amongst ourselves?
That's a tough one, Commissioner Malem. Let me first say this. In Bloemfontein, I was neighbors with the Premier, the former Premier, just 10 minutes apart, our houses, for about for the length of his tenure. if I was driving out of my house and I saw his entourage, leaving out 10 back, I literally ran away because I was scared of. I didn't want to meet him. The one time I met him was during we were interviewing for, I think about 4 years back, interviewing for a vacancy in the Bloemfontein High Court. I met him at the tea. I did not even introduce myself that we are actually neighbors. So I'm afraid of things. That's a literal translation from isiXhosa and ndiyazoyika mna izinto. But to answer you more directly, look, I can imagine a few instances where a head of the judiciary would have private business not private, official business with the head of state. I imagine that if, for example, about recommendations of the JSC, it's not the president who would, if the president commanded the Chief Justice, not commanded, asked the Chief Justice to report at his home to discuss those recommendations, there would be nothing untoward with that kind of meeting at the president's official residence. I don't know about the privacy of why it would not be disclosed. I can't really say anything about that. If it were me, if I went to attend that business, because that information belongs to the public anyway, so we serve the public, I would disclose it. That I actually went to see President Ramaphosa to discuss the recommendations of the JSC. He had asked me to visit him. But I don't know. I can't really comment intelligently when I don't have all the facts. I don't know what that was about.
In 2010, we had, during the World Cup, we had special courts that were dealing with those matters of related to... Sorry, President. And before I move there, I just want to agree with you that from time to time, you, as head of court, you'll meet, or as a judge, whatever, you'll meet with the leadership of the country. But when you are asked, you'll be able to say, I went there to discuss the recommendations of the JSC. But once a judge comes across as saying, we want to discuss a matter of national importance, and then you don't want to disclose to the country as to what is that matter, it means a judge can have a secret with a president or a politician. It's a worrying fact. But moving to the next one, 2010 there were special courts. Why are we not creating special courts to speed up matters of corruption? For instance, we had a commission here that was investigating corruption. And in the two reports that came out, nothing came out except to recommend a further investigation. After spending 1 billion, we're still furthering another 2 billion, another investigation. If there was an alarm like those matters were referred to that commission, there's corruption in Transnet. These are the people who are responsible. The same recommendation, you don't need a recommendation of a commission to investigate a crime. Now, we are told after 2 billion, we must still investigate further the possibility of a crime. So, instead of commission, shouldn't we have special courts dedicated to corruption? So that once an investigation is done, then the decision is taken to prosecute. You have a court that is dedicated to this corrupt matter. I will tell you why. This matter of corruption is a big problem in this country. And it must be attended specially and urgently the same way we did in 2010. Shouldn't we, if you are appointed, are you amenable to consider some special court to attend to corruption cases so that people begin to see that we are serious in dealing with corruption and finalizing the corruption cases as soon as possible in order to then send a message to society that if you engage in these things, you're going to be caught and you'll be sent to jail for a very long time. That is one reason. But the second reason I'm raising this matter is, which you may not have to respond to, corruption cases are now used by those in power to settle political scores. So they just taint people, pretend to be taking them to court, and they leave them there hanging for so many years with a dark cloud, so that these people are not a threat to their office occupation. So I think that perhaps, I don't know, you'll guide me there, President, have we not reached a point where we need special courts to deal with matters of corruption as speedily as possible, so that the country and the world can see that South Africa is serious in dealing with these matters of corruption?
I think every right-thinking South African would agree that that's a fine idea. But I don't know if we would be able to create such courts within the resources we have now. I mean, the courts are currently struggling with their workload. We are short-staffed. I mean, we all know what's going on. I guess it would depend on whether the minister, if the idea was posited to him, the proposal was posited to him, did not come back with the usual answer that Treasury says there's no money. The country was not broke in 2010, Mr. Malem. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Malema.
Follow up on that one, Acting President.
Yes, you may proceed, Honorable Minister.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe on that same question, President, just to expand on it. Shouldn't the specialty start with the investigation and also with the NPA? And also to say, the crimes we have now, that some of them you might have seen on appeal, can we still really say there is no convergence between investigation and the prosecutorial role, the complexity of the matters, the way we have them today? And I think what comes to mind to me, which at least at the time, which was foresight, was something like a DSO that had some powers of investigating and cushioning, and also in terms of now what we have is a situation where the Hawks or the police investigate, takes time, they give the NPA tells them to go back to look at this and that, takes another time. By the time the matter goes to court, it's 3 or 4 years, and sometimes there's no indictment after 6 or 7 appearances. So that is the kind of question I'm asking, that shouldn't that be the kind of thing we're looking into, so that we're able to have matters being investigated quickly, being prosecuted quickly, and also if, for example, with the Special Commercial Crimes Court, if it is then overwhelmed, there's a basis to say we may create a special role or we may create a special court as per the suggestion of Commissioner Malema. But if we do it now, there's no case that the Special Corruption Court will do. So that is a kind of question I'm having. What will be your view? I mean, the Glen Vista case states the requirements of a kind of corruption-busting institution. What are the powers and all that kind of acting president?
You are making sense, Minister. You are making sense. I don't see any contradiction between what he proposes and what you are saying. You are just beefing up the process from inception now, from investigation. But his idea remains that specialist courts will be needed for a few reasons, few good reasons. But what you say also is they should be combined, and with that composite mechanism, I'm sure we'd make great inroads into this cancer that has brought our country to its knees.
President, may I just follow up on this as well? It's me, this side, President, just quickly. Can I follow up on this quickly?
Yes, please do,
Yeah.
Commissioner. Yes.
President Maya, the point is, I think the idea of the NEEC introduced by the Chief Justice is something that one would keep those institutions, strengthen up, because what Commissioner Malema is saying here, to me, is one of the issues that makes people, the public, to lose confidence. Particularly with these cases of the ANC step aside, they are putting all of them in jail every day, with cases to stay there 8 years. I have a case in the Eastern Cape. It is 8 years, the Mandela case. It has nothing, we can raise it to you, but if we took them to that NEC, we track on the cases, what is the reason why it is remaining there, at least there would be, other than the institution which needs to be polished up, but from the court's point of view, a mechanism, because we owe it to those who are accused, a duty that these matters are finalized, also to the country, corruption that it is dealt with. This is a balanced approach.
I hear you, Commissioner.
Follow up. Commissioner Singh.
Yeah, thank you very much, Acting President. President Maya, we all know of the saying, in for a penny, in for a pound. Now, we've spent so many pennies, that's gone to over 2 billion rand, as Commissioner Malema has said. Now, surely as a country, we can find resources somewhere to ensure that we follow through logically on prosecuting the people that have been involved in this corruption, because at the end of the day, it's going to benefit the country as a whole if these people are put behind bars and in orange overalls, and we'll have more money and there'll be more confidence, not only in the judiciary, but confidence in the country itself for foreign investors, etc. There was a time when I read, and correct me if I'm wrong, about funding being made available from outside sources, for these kinds of prosecutions, or to beef up the judiciary. I don't know if you're aware of that, but I think I did read somewhere.
Yes,
I don't know what your view is on that kind of thing. Because, we've got funds that we get from IMF, from World Bank, from everywhere else. What would your view be on that?
Well, I think, look, the principle, I agree with the principle as a taxpayer, South African, but the other logistics I would leave to Minister Lamola and Treasury. I don't know if I don't know how those work, getting funding elsewhere, and if maybe we can't find resources from our broke bank account. But I agree with the principle as an ordinary South African.
Acting President, that's me.
Commissioner Malema.
No, the reason why we're raising this issue is because if you are a head of the judiciary, you are going to inherit this, I don't want to say bad image or lack of confidence by our people on the judiciary because of how long we take to resolve some of these issues, which are a big problem for our country. So in as much as we don't have a budget, but an idea that is put in a very structural manner, so that even tomorrow we get money somewhere, we're able to say, okay, this is how we're going to move towards making sure that we restore the image of the judiciary. Many of women don't report rape because it takes forever to just resolve it. And the humiliation of going through and coming back and going, I want to deal with this pain and deal with it and finish it so that I can reclaim my life. But there are no specialized courts that deals with these fundamental issues that are confronting our people. And I think that it's a point that perhaps you need to consider when appointed.
Thank you, Commissioner Malema. President Maya, I've got a few propositions that I want to put to you.
Yes.
For your comment. The first one is, if you were to be appointed the next Chief Justice, do you think that the environment would be conducive for you to replicate the many positives that you achieved at the SCA at all levels within the judiciary?
Yes, Chair. I have no doubt that's eminently possible with the support of my colleagues, of course, who I know also have the best interests of our institution at heart.
Thank you. Earlier, you did mention that you are firm, and I think your firmness was put to good use at the SCA several times, because whenever problems arose, you were courageous enough to nip them in the bud.
It is a characteristic of my clan, especially the women of that clan. Intombi zaKwaRhadebe ziyaziwa tiphi.
Then the other issue that I want to raise with you, when I read the comment from the BLA, especially the second last or penultimate paragraph, unnumbered, of their comments, page 3, where they say, during 2017, 18, 19, 20, the acting appointments at the SCA favored white males. And this caused me to check my records, and I observed that during your stewardship, from April 2018 to April 2021, 13 judges were appointed to the SCA, 2 white males, 1 white female, and 10 black judges, 6 of whom are women. And the point that I want to put to you is that the concern raised by the BLA seems, in my view, to quibble about acting appointments and overlooking an important consideration relating to permanent appointments over the same period at the SCA. South African judges come from various backgrounds, and you did earlier on when Commissioner Nokesi put some questions to you, gave us an insight of some of them. But what I want to put to you is that regardless of their past affiliations, be they political or otherwise, judges are always expected to be scrupulously faithful to their oath of office and to decide cases that come before them with integrity, courage, by applying the law to the facts of the case.
Yes.
Thank you. And the other issue I want to put to you is that in my view, it is an illusion to think that this Chief Justice is a supernatural person with monopoly of wisdom who will have answers to every challenge that might confront the judiciary.
Yeah.
And that an astute Chief Justice will recognize the fact that within the judiciary there will always be judges with special skills, talents, and indeed leadership qualities.
Yeah.
And the Chief Justice would then be well advised to tap on those talents in taking the judiciary forward.
I couldn't have said it better.
We are almost at the tail end of the interview. Do you have anything that you would wish to say that may, in your view, be of assistance to us during our deliberations before we adjourn for the day?
No, DP, I'm going to disappoint you. I don't have a closing statement. I think I've said enough here. All I want to do is to ask for an opportunity to thank all the people who nominated me and supported my candidacy, especially the women. Women are notorious. One of the commissioners mentioned this. Women are notorious. I think it was Commissioner Madlema. Women are notorious for not being able to support one another, but in this case, well, and in other cases too, but we're here now, in this particular case, they moved heaven and earth to ensure that my name becomes, well, not my name, I'm the guinea pig, if I may put it that way. A woman gets an opportunity, to be considered for this, such an important job. And it's such an honor for me to be that woman. And whichever way the decision goes, I will remain forever grateful for this opportunity to all those who made it possible. I think women have, Commissioner Lucas said it, we've broken, we've just caused yet another crack in this glass ceiling just by having a woman come in and sit here for these kind of proceedings. This is a huge victory for women, just being able to sit here and address you. So I'm thankful for that opportunity. And those people almost crashed my phone with all the messages of support. Thanks to them all. That is all, DP. Thank you. And commissioners.
Well, it remains for me to thank you for availing yourself and for your candid answers to the questions that were put to you by the commissioners, which will no doubt be borne in mind during our deliberations.
No.
You are at this stage excused.
Never thought the moment would come.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and good luck with the rest of the proceedings, commissioners.
Thank you.
All right, well, just in time then as well for us to say goodbye to you. And that's it from me, Flo Letwaba, and the rest of the team here at SA Today. Thanks very much for being with us this afternoon. Of course, SA Today back with you tomorrow at 3 p.m. Continue taking care of yourselves.